Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Towler. I'm Senior Product Marketing Manager here with Progress, and my remit includes our WhatsUp Gold network monitoring solution. So what is WhatsUp Gold? WhatsUp Gold's actually been around for a while. Some of you may be familiar with it, some of you may not be. What it is an award-winning network monitoring and network infrastructure monitoring solution that provides network information and network performance at a glance. It really does exactly what it says on the tin. What's up? What's down. That was its primary function when it was first introduced. It allows you to see network status, and it allows you to see it at a glance. You can kind of see in the background one of the images there. That's a network map, and that's the main interface of WhatsUp Gold. And you can see there, in fact, we've got one item that's red. At a glance, you can tell what's going on with your network. It will monitor absolutely everything that is connected to your network, period. The value it provides is that it does this in context, so it's vendor agnostic. You can plug anything into your network, WhatsUp Gold will find it, and if it's more sophisticated than 2 tin cans and a string, it will talk to it, get information, and be able to give you information and status information on that. It's very intuitive, it's very easy to use, and the main value we're providing is diagnostic. We are allowing IT teams to use WhatsUp Gold to monitor their network, to get alerted if there's a problem, and to proactively find and fix problems fast. Main goal of WhatsUp Gold is to allow IT teams to resolve an issue before their users are ever impacted by it. And I'm quoting a customer here, that is the holy grail of IT. We didn't come up with that, they did. It's got a variety of features, and this is a fairly high level. Jason can spend the next hour talking your ear off about this if you really care, but these are the kind of the key features we want to talk about with WhatsUp Gold. And I'm going to go over them at a high level, but then go into them in a little bit more detail in just a second. It's very easy to install and set up. You can download it, get it up and running, and get actionable information within about half an hour. That's actually important in our space. A lot of competitors take a lot more configuration and setup. It will monitor anything via any sort of standard industry protocol. The mapping interface is really intuitive. Mark's going to get to show that off to you. I think it's amazing. And by the way, I'm an object lesson, I should say. I knew nothing about network monitoring when I first joined the company, and they threw me in front of WhatsUp Gold, and within an hour, I knew more or less what I was doing and what I was looking at. The licensing is device-based. I'll explain what that means in a minute, but it generally means there's an easier way to figure out licensing at the scale than a lot of our competitors. Dashboards are drag and drop. Anything that WhatsUp Gold can report on, you can create a custom dashboard on it, and every single view of WhatsUp Gold is a unique web page, which makes it very, very easy to provide specific views for wall boards, or knock centers, or individuals. The features that it includes beyond the basic network monitoring and seeing what's involved is NetFlow traffic monitoring, application performance monitoring. We can monitor your virtual infrastructure. We can monitor your wireless capabilities. We can monitor your cloud connections and your cloud resources. We include a configuration management capability that allows you to determine whether or not your configurations change and to modify them, track them as well. And we've added integrated log management recently so that IT teams are able to keep track of logs and find log information quickly and easily. There's a powerful REST API that we've been using for a couple of years. We exposed it to our customers about 2 years ago. So if you can do some PowerShell coding, you can really make WhatsUp Gold dance, and you can integrate it with just about anything. And recently, about, I want to say, I guess almost 6-8 months ago, Progress acquired Kemp. And they make a product called Flowmon, which is an advanced network performance monitoring, traffic monitoring, and network detection and response security product. It overlaps somewhat with WhatsUp Gold, provides some really high-powered features, and within about 3 months of the acquisition, as soon as our engineers were legally allowed to talk to them, we were able to integrate Flowmon into WhatsUp Gold, so you can see Flowmon information within the WhatsUp Gold interface. And again, I'll get to that in a second.
Is this vendor agnostic, will work with any type of switching?
Yes, if we can talk to it via WMI, SNMP, ping, if it's got an IP address, we can find it, we can talk to it. Depending on what that device is willing to expose, we can get more or less information, but at the very least, basic status information. If it's something we can access through an API, we can get everything it's willing to give us.
And it does campus as well as data center?
Anything. If it's plugged into your network, we can find it.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I'm answering that question correctly, but it doesn't matter whether it's on a campus, widely distributed. We've got customers with networks in multiple continents that can all be monitored through one central WhatsUp Gold solution.
Okay. And the reason I'm very curious is Cisco, for instance, has Nexus Dashboard Insights. Arista is coming out with their own data lake to do monitoring. In Cisco's case right now, it's just in the data center. And often, depending upon license agreements, that product is included. Have you looked at any of these kind of up and coming vendor-specific network monitoring?
We actually have a very broad range of competitors. The network monitoring space is pretty crowded. There's a lot of things ranging from free to free if you want to put a lot of work into it, like Nagios, for example, to really expensive solutions. What we've found, and the niche we're in, is one that is designed to eliminate finger pointing. And I have not personally used any of the solutions you're describing, but often if you're looking at a Cisco solution that's optimized for monitoring a data center, how well is that going to work for your wireless or your cloud or any of the other pieces of the network? I honestly don't know. I'm literally asking the question.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
Exactly. So our goal here, and I want to be clear, there are all of these features I've got on the board right now. There are individual products that will probably do a better job than any of them, and they may be more expensive. The goal of WhatsUp Gold is to put everything into one interface, one device, because studies have shown for IT teams it's much faster MTTR if they don't have to hop between multiple systems. It also helps us eliminate finger pointing. And Markson will show you this, when we're showing you your entire network, it makes it a lot easier to say, all right, that's where the problem is, as opposed to the Cisco monitoring system says it's not Cisco, it's AWS. And AWS says, no, we're not seeing anything from the Dell systems. And you've got finger pointing and your IT team is chasing down a fault. Whereas we're saying, here's the issue, here's the entire network, and we don't have a vested interest in any of it. And there may be specifics about that we can debate, but in general, our customer base and our market is interested in something that isn't necessarily beholden. And yes, I understand Cisco does provide products that do compete on some level. However, the question arises, how well do they monitor something that isn't Cisco?
And then you mentioned SNMP. I always want to say, hey, the 1980s called, they want their SNMP back. Do you need SNMP? Can we just avoid that?
Yes, so WhatsUp Gold requires that SNMP access in order to perform the monitoring directly out of the box. Basically, the mapping technology. So when we run a discovery, it actually uses SNMP to figure out what's connected to that device and actually build a topology map out of it. Are there alternative ways? Absolutely, but that's not how WhatsUp Gold is built. However, WhatsUp Gold is actually fully customizable as well. So if you prefer to monitor through SSH, let's say you want to connect to the device, run a command, see specific output, or not expect a specific output, you can do that as well. So it's very flexible, but directly out of the box, we expect SNMP access to the network devices.
You said if you know PowerShell scripting, you can make the system dance. Did I hear that right?
You
Were
did.
You referring to okay, so is it just PowerShell or what else? Like, is there other scripting languages, programming languages that you can make this work, or is it specific to PowerShell?
So I can hop in there as well. You directly in WhatsUp Gold, you have the ability to create what we call monitors, and that's for looking at specific data coming from the device, either expect or not expect, and that includes PowerShell, VBScript, and JScript. Now, in addition to that, with the REST API, technically speaking, you could use any programming language that can connect and to the REST API itself, and it's industry standard. It's using a Swagger API, so most people are pretty familiar with that setup already. But it's once again agnostic of the programming language as long as it can run the commands to run the REST API calls.
Okay, that sounds perfect. I was curious why it seemed like it was limited to PowerShell, but with it listing REST API support up there, I should be able to use any language that can speak REST.
Sorry, PowerShell is the one that comes to mind simply because that's what we tend to work with. Our customers tend to work with most often.
No worries.
But absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to move on then, unless we've got more questions, and talk about the first thing you need to do with WhatsUp Gold, which is run a discovery. And this is something Mark Singh probably is not going to be showing you. But right out of the box, WhatsUp Gold will ask you to discover, and it will go reach out and it will find absolutely everything connected to your network. Now, bear in mind, we license by device. So if you've got, 40 devices you care about and 300 users, we can monitor right down to the individual laptops if you want. You probably don't, but we're going to charge you for every device you monitor. So the idea here is we'll find everything that's connected to your network, and we'll say, here it all is. Here's what we know. If you give us if you give us credentials, which is absolutely essential, then we can identify them beyond just an IP address, tell you what they are, what they're used for, even apply an icon in a lot of cases. And then it's a question of what would you like to monitor amongst all those devices, and then you can apply monitors. This is obviously the first step. You've got to find it before you can start monitoring it. There's a number of ways. I think Jason was just kind of describing how we can reach out and discover a lot of these items. And the discovery can also assign roles. So for example, if you've got 100 Cisco routers and you want them all treated the same way, if WhatsUp Gold discovers a Cisco router, it will automatically apply all of that entire configuration to those routers and identify it as such. And then that's a role within WhatsUp Gold. It allows you to do mass, not necessarily changes, but mass modifications and mass functions by selecting roles. I could say, all right, all routers shut off port 8088, for example, something like that. The big value of discovery is it can also be automated. If you run a discovery every night, you're going to find out anytime anyone has added something to your network, which right off the bat can be really valuable information for a lot of IT teams. It's pretty straightforward depending on the size of your network. It can take some time, but not that much time. And you can also specify particular parts of the network's particular IP ranges to go look for. This is step one, and we feel we have one of the best ones in the market as far as discovering your network. And I will pause here.
So as we talk about the overview, hopefully throughout one or some point in the presentation, we'll talk about, especially this segment of the market, software supply chain has been a really big topic. Can we talk about how WhatsUp Gold in progress is making sure that the software pipeline is secure and ensuring, especially if we talk about updates and auto updates, et cetera?
Go ahead, Jason.
So we definitely ever since the fallout of 2020, we took a very close look at our security, and we're very confident in our build process and the whole supply chain of WhatsUp Gold to the customers. We actually don't have any sort of automatic updates, so customer actually has to log into a customer portal with a specific ID they set up and download the software to upgrade it. So it's not quite, if you're trying to compare to one of our competitors, it's not quite the same in terms of how we supply the download to the customer.
There's nothing we're automatically providing, and there's nothing we're automatically forcing. WhatsUp Gold is a perpetual license. So if you purchase it and never give us a penny in maintenance, you can use it forever.
Yeah, so
Period.
I guess that doesn't really answer the question.
Okay.
Saying that there's no auto updates doesn't mean that the software pipeline itself is secure. It just means that you won't automatically download infected software. What have you guys done to make sure that your internal controls ensure that there isn't an escape in the development process?
So we actually are SOC 2 compliant, and we actually publish information about our security guidelines directly on our website. So we can get into detail about it, but I would encourage you to go progress.com/security, and that will give you all the information, not only from the WhatsUp Gold perspective, but all the Progress products. And in addition to that, we have specific security guidelines that are published publicly to customers around WhatsUp Gold.
It's not a discovery question, but it came up as something that you mentioned on the discovery slide. And I think you mentioned a couple times as well, in terms of licensing, that it's one license per device. Does that include NetFlow?
That's actually a separate module. So the core product, WhatsUp Gold, is device-based licensing. And then we have a couple of different editions. So we have a Total Plus edition, which includes all of the add-ons, and then you get a single pool of points to allocate to those add-ons as need be. Or we have a kind of a la carte add-on. So what you're talking about with the NetFlow would be our network traffic analysis. And the licensing works a bit similar there. So we consider a single source, one license, regardless of how many interfaces are on that specific source.
This is the network map, and this is unique to WhatsUp Gold. No one else really provides this in the same way we do. The map is automatically generated, and you can see multiple views of the map. Again, Mark Singh is going to walk you through this, but after the discovery, you will get this. Everything there in green is something we've identified and said, yes, I want to monitor it, and I've applied a monitor to it. But this will show you exactly what's going on in your network, what's connected. The green lines there will change color depending on bandwidth status that you can set. If you want to see when some link gets 80% bandwidth, you can turn it red at that point, or you can turn it yellow. That's all set out of the box. Anything wrong with any of the monitors on that device, and that icon will turn red. For some of the more advanced capabilities like network traffic analysis and application performance monitoring, you'll get a little red dot that shows up if one of those items has an issue. This is interactive. You can zoom, you can scroll, you can apply different layers. So right now you're seeing the standard network and the connections. You could just show, you can apply a wireless layer, and it will show you all your wireless access points and all the SSIDs connected. You can show the dependencies. So you can see what device is dependent on something else. So that makes it very easy to identify that went down and everything downstream is screaming, but that doesn't matter because this is the one that's the fault. Similar virtual layover will show you exactly where your virtual guests and hosts are. And there's a variety of ways to filter this. So if you only wanted to see all your routers, for example, or only your wireless access points, or only what's in Boston, as opposed to what's in New York. It's very, very easy to flip back and forth between these screens. And as I said, it's interactive. Everything here is clickable. You can click on any one of these icons and you will get a card that will pop up on the right that will tell you details about it at a high level. Click on any of those and you enter right into the screen in the dashboard that allows you to either make changes or get more information. This is, in our opinion, one of the most valuable aspects of WhatsUp Gold because it will do two things. It will not only tell anyone trying to diagnose a fault exactly where the issue is, but it's also something that serves very well in a knock. A lot of our customers really like putting this up so that the lay people who are walking around and dependent on email and things like that can at a glance see if there's anything wrong with the network. And I'm not necessarily going to have the education to understand what or how, but it lets them know, okay, network issue. And the alerting system is the other piece of this. They can know that someone is doing something about this.
So with this mapping, can you get into like seeing like a layer 2, layer 3 topology, and then to kind of build on that? When we start looking at things like SD-WAN, where we've got overlay and underlay networks, can we see both of those, or is this kind of limited? You can only see the underlay or overlay. Can you toggle those?
So I can hop in there. Yeah, you're exactly right. Layer 2, layer 3. We don't really tie directly into software-defined networks at this time, but it is something we are potentially looking into for the future. Now, when it comes to that, well, we're going to pick up any device that has an IP address is going to be able to show up on this map. Now, if we're able to get SNMP access to that device, we're able to actually build out the topology, show you where it's connected. Not only that, but there's also reports that actually list out, what's connected to each port, et cetera. So there's a lot of things that we get just from that SNMP access to the device. Now, when it comes to software-defined networks, so like I said, we don't really tie in there. So we'd kind of pick up, that virtual IP provided by the device potentially and show it on the map, but we might not necessarily have the ability to draw the topology map automatically. However, you also have the ability to customize this map. So you see in the top left-hand corner of that screenshot, there's a custom layout. So you can really build these maps out interactively according to whatever your desires are, so to speak. So I've seen people, for example, just put a background image of their campus and move the systems around to where they are on the campus. I've seen people put background images of like their server rack and put these things directly on top of where the server lies in the rack, etc. So the capabilities are pretty extensive, but unfortunately no SD-WAN support at this time.
And from a link standpoint, if you have two links between devices, it looks like here it's all just kind of point-to-point connections. Can this do multi-link, or if there's like a port channel between two devices, will, like, if you hover over it or something, will you be able to see both links, or how does it deal with the redundant links?
Right now it does not. So that's something else we're looking into for the future potentially. But the workaround right now is to use that custom layout, and you could put those two links on that map for you.
And actually, Jason opened the door, but I'm going to expand a little bit on the custom layout. As I mentioned, this is automatically generated. So when you pop it up, it's going to lay things out logically in the easiest to read fashion. And if, for example, we said, I don't want to see any of my servers, it would remove them and show you, and the map would redraw itself. And it's very fast. This is being done with, your browser's intelligence. Is not going back to a central server or anything like that. The advantage of the custom maps is, from a diagnosis standpoint, it makes it very, very easy to look at this overall map and go, okay, I've got a wireless access point that's a problem. But it's going to show me the wireless access point. I can click on it. It'll give me serial number, all the tons of information about the access point. It, if I've added a tag, it might even tell me where it is. On the other hand, I can flip over to a custom map. And again, there's no limit on how many of these you have. Here's the floor map of the floor with all the wireless access points in the building laid out. So I can go the access point that is down, and it's all live. It's the same thing. All of these icons are the same clickable, zoomable, dig downable icons. I can go, the access point that's giving me a problem is this one outside of this guy's office. And it makes it a lot easier to find where these things are if you put a little bit of time into developing a custom map. We see that a lot with the floor plans. We also see things like geographic areas. We have one customer, for example, and this did take a little bit of coding, but they've got a custom map of the state of Georgia. He's got 5 campuses in Georgia, and he overlays a weather map, like a weather radar map over it. And if a bunch of systems aren't working properly or he's getting weird reactions, he clicks over to that and sees if there's a storm, because that half the time that explains the issue. So he's perfectly fine wherever he is, but North Georgia, they've got a thunderstorm going through. That explains why things got flaky for those servers up there. This isn't so much a technical issue, but we really do want to highlight it because it is an important part of how we sell WhatsUp Gold and its appeal to the market. And we have a couple competitors who are starting to do something similar to this now. Most of our competitors, however, have been selling their network monitoring solutions based on either sensors or elements, meaning if you've got a 48 port switch, for example, you will pay one element or you assign one element to each one of those ports, plus the fan and the CPU and the hard drive, whatever. We treat every device as a device. So the issue here is if you're using one of our competitors and you want every one of those 48 ports monitored, that can get expensive. We say it's a device. We'll monitor you can apply as many monitors to it as you wish. This has 2 advantages. One, it makes it very, very easy to figure out what your licensing cost is going to be at purchase. How many devices have you got? That's your answer of what kind of license you need. It also makes it very, very easy to modify any of those changes. If on the left, for example, with a competitor, you realize we only monitored the first 3 ports because those are the important ones. And the CEO's printer is on port 6 and you haven't been monitoring it and it's been down for a month and now you're in trouble. You can apply additional monitors anytime you want. It also makes scaling easier. You're not looking at, okay, I'm adding a 120 port or 128 port switch, for example. That's going to be expensive. No, it's not. It's one additional device point.
Does that apply also to chassis-based switches and to switches, things like Cisco FEX, where you have extension switches adding more ports? Does that count as one device with many FEX hanging off it, or do you start charging by the line card at that point?
No, though we consider that one device. And another important point of clarity is it's not like by IP address. So if a switch has, let's say, 50 different IP addresses, we still consider that just one device. And even within those chassis that have kind of switches within switches, we still consider that a single device as well.
Oh, earlier in my career, I used WhatsUp Gold for server monitoring. So what about VMs?
Yep. Basically anything with an IP address, you're going to be able to monitor in WhatsUp Gold, and to varying degrees depending on what credentials we have to that device. Virtual machines, just each virtual machine counts as a single device on one license. And once again, regardless of the number of different monitors we have on there. So maybe you're looking at 10 Windows services, CPU, disk, and memory utilization. You're pinging the device periodically. It's all still considered one device one license used, regardless of how many different things you're looking at on that system.
Oh, that's what makes me curious, because it's I'm seeing the less than 300. So if I'm
so to clarify on that, that's specifically talking about our subscription licensing. So subscription-based licensing is 300 devices or less. The perpetual license, we actually go up to what we call unrestricted. The limitation is 20,000 devices or 100,000 metrics, whichever comes first. So you could have a single environment with up to 20,000 devices.
Okay.
And sorry, I kind of skipped over this to get to the fun device-based licensing piece. But yes, WhatsUp Gold is a perpetual license. We do offer a subscription, if you'd prefer, for smaller networks of 300 devices or less. And we include a maintenance agreement. While you have that maintenance agreement active, all upgrades are free. We do at least 2 new releases a year, sometimes more. They show up in our community. Our users are notified within the product that there is a new upgrade available, and they can choose to upgrade or not if they wish. We have a big pool of users who dropped maintenance and are perfectly happy with their older versions. We like customers to stay on maintenance, obviously, because that allows us to roll out security improvements as well as a variety of other improvements. So maintenance is a big deal with us. There are a couple different editions of WhatsUp Gold, as Jason mentioned earlier. We kind of sell it as what we call WhatsUp Gold Premium, which is a base plus add-on capability, and WhatsUp Gold Total Plus, which includes everything I showed you earlier on that one page that included all of our features. The difference there is subtle, and the main reason we do this is because some of our customers just want to monitor the basics. They have no interest in network traffic analysis. They don't care about application performance monitoring or log management or virtual or any of the other offerings we provide, so they can save some money by going with that. Or maybe they only want one of those. Total Plus is a all-in-one solution. Usually if you want more than one add-on, it becomes a better deal. And it has a couple of aspects that are slightly more flexible. We use the term points with Total Plus because we're including concepts like network traffic analysis and application performance monitoring. And what that means is every device is still one device. We just call it one point. So they will buy Total Plus in a pool of points. They can reallocate them however they want, and it works exactly the same way. The difference is, for some of the add-ons, we will charge more points. So for example, each flow source is going to be 10 points. Each application, 10 points. Each log source, 10 points. So it's slightly different that way. Configuration management actually is either on or off. And all of these are licensed separately or all at once with Total Plus. So there are some advantages there. It's certainly a more expensive offering, but a lot of our customers find it's a lot easier to get this because then they've got access to everything, and there's a side benefit of being able to shuffle things around. If, for example, you had WhatsUp Gold Premium and a license for 10 flow sources, and you decide you suddenly need 11, you've got to come back to us and talk to us and get another, at least one more flow license. And I think we only sell them in packs of 5. If you've got Total Plus, you can just throw another 10 points at it, and you've got one big pool of points that works from.
Question back to earlier when you were mentioning like the FEXs, that's a single license, and maybe this was grouped in there or not, and I just missed it. But would something like a VSS pairing count as one license, or would that be 2 licenses?
Oh, sorry, I'm not familiar with VSS.
So like you can take 2 Cisco chassis and they are sort of becoming one from a configuration standpoint, but they're, two chassis bonded together.
So we would consider those two separate devices, and potentially a third device for if there was like a virtual IP between the two is what we would recommend to kind of monitor the chassis themselves versus the virtual infrastructure provided by combining the two, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so any virtual stacking technology that would end up being one per.
Exactly.
So in a say a data center spine leaf arrangement where at the leaf level they're a pair, they're a redundant pair in some way. Like for example, if you're using Arista, they would say it's an M-lagged pair. Are you saying that relationship would account for three separate devices, the two physical devices, and the fact that there's kind of virtual IP that represents that thing as a logical one unit? I mean,
well,
what I just described isn't technically accurate, but I'm just trying to paint you a picture.
Yeah, exactly. So what we do directly out of the box is we'll just pick up the nodes, and then we'll pick up that virtual IP, virtual information from each node, depending on what that node provides when we actually discover it. We recommend separating that virtual piece out, simply because, that way you're monitoring not from the node perspective, but from the service perspective, so to speak. So you have your two separate chassis in an HA, maybe one's active at any given time. Well, if it switches over to the other node, you want to make sure you're still monitoring it. And that's why we typically recommend separating out and using an additional license for. The same thing goes for like Microsoft clusters. We would want to monitor the two separate servers as well as the virtual stack that's provided.
I want to make sure that we right size the nuance, because in bigger tools, eating up a license is a big deal. How big of a deal from a cost factor is eating up a WhatsUp Gold license? Like sometimes we treat licenses as our precious, and we won't give them out to a lot of devices. Like how generous can we be from a cost conscious perspective about WhatsUp Gold licensing? Device license.
I would counter that and say, it depends on your budget. But in general, our pricing is very reasonable, and most of our customers will buy much more licenses than they need to accommodate for growth. And there is not much price difference between our licensing tiers typically. So there is obviously a jump, but that's one of the reasons our customers like us is, we make licensing simple and we don't overcharge for our licensing.
Right. You can start off with a 25-point license, a 25 device license for less than $2,000. And it goes up from there. But on average, we don't often see, and I don't want to say never, because we do have some very large customers, but we don't often see sales or customers spending more than, $15,000. Kind of at the upper end. I mean, we occasionally see a $100,000 deal come across the transom, but that's fairly rare, and it's usually someone has specific needs. Our sweet spot really is the mid market, and we're looking at networks that are usually less than 500 devices.
As long as it's affordable enough, and you're not charging me per line card, you're just charging per device, that adding a secondary on there shouldn't be too bad. Shouldn't be bad.
And again, this is another advantage. If your needs are larger, Total Plus makes that a lot simpler. You can just buy bundles of points, and if you don't use 40 of them, you can throw them around however you need them or accommodate for growth. I'm going to move on because I'm trying to be sensitive of time, but we can come back to this if people have further questions about licensing. I'd like to move on so we can talk a little bit about monitoring and alerting. And Jason already touched on this, but the way we work is we find a device, you apply a license to that device if you want to monitor it, and then you may apply as many monitors as you wish. Monitors basically poll those devices for up, down, yes, no conditions. They can be passive or active. And if a monitor is tripped, and and I think every single one of them is configurable. If they're not binary, you can set a threshold to whatever you want, depending on what you're tracking. it will trigger an alert. And the alerting system with WhatsUp Gold is another thing that's particularly valuable. I mentioned earlier on the map that we do have a dependency overlay. So we do understand what what devices are dependent on what other devices. And if something goes down, we will prioritize the upstream device. In other words, if you've got a server and there's 50 items hanging off of it, you do not get 51 alerts. You get one alert for that one server that went down. And the alerts are very flexible. You can get them via email. You can get something that pops up on your screen. You can get a text. We didn't list this here, but you can still use a pager, which people still use. And you can also activate a script. And this is where things, as I mentioned, making it dance. You can have an alert trigger a script which can do anything you can program. And we have a lot of customers who do some fairly, and I shouldn't say a lot, but many customers who use some fairly sophisticated scripting to automatically reset systems, update something, that sort of thing. You can also notify your entire group, either by Slack or through MS Teams. And Slack's particularly valuable if the one person who normally gets the alerts isn't in the office, and someone else in the team can take up the Slack. And we just extended that capability to Microsoft Teams, meaning in theory, not only can you notify anyone in the company, you could, and again, this is an ability within Microsoft Teams, send a different type of alert to the IT team who's responsible for fixing the problem, and possibly a separate alert to the people who might be using that application. So IT gets a notice, email server's down. Fix it, it's this one at this location, this is the problem. Everyone else who's using that email server just gets that email's down, we're working on it, notification.
As far as kind of integrations go, then are those kind of the two that are built in, or are there integrations with like ticketing systems, ServiceNow, Remedy, etc.?
Yeah, we have a few different integrations, but yes, we have Ops Genie and we have ServiceNow integration. But as we were saying earlier, really with the ability to run PowerShell, VBScript, or JScript, it's as long as you're familiar with how to work with the APIs, it's pretty easy to integrate to any system that has an API. But we are also pursuing other opportunities for integrations going forward as well.
Yeah, one of the reasons we made the API available to our customers was because we were getting the occasional request to build a custom integration for example, ServiceNow. And we could do it, but why make our customers wait until the next iteration of the product? If we can give them the API, they can build them themselves. And if they need help, we do offer professional services. Another feature we like to tout is our dashboarding. And every network monitoring solution has dashboarding. We think ours looks best and has easy to use and very intuitive at a glance information. What we find is a big competitive differentiator is the ability to build your own custom dashboards. There are hundreds of pre-built reports. And if you see in the screenshot here on the right, that is the full directory tree of every single report that WhatsUp Gold can generate. You can literally drag and drop them onto the left to create whatever layout you'd like. It could be full width, 3-column, 2-column, any mix, whatever you'd like. And if you're looking at a graph, and Mark will show you some of these, you can decide whether you want it as bar, pie, or chart, whatever. Anything you want to do, you can create. And again, there's a bunch that come out of the box, but there's no limit to how many dashboards you can create. So any individual user can have their own set of custom dashboards, and that's absolutely fine. Everything that the dashboards report, every report can be exported, and it can be exported through email. It can be exported as a print job. It can be exported as either PDF or an Excel, or I should say comma separated value. And that can be done at the click of a button, or it can be scheduled. So for example, we do have a lot of situations where the IT team has a guy in accounting who simply wants to know, what did we spend on cloud last month versus what did we use? And instead of running a report from, which they can do, they can have that show up on his desk every morning, or they can just give him a link, because again, it's all web-based. He clicks on that link, he sees a live view. If he wants to modify it so he's looking back at the last month, at the last year, he can go ahead and do it. And he doesn't bug the IT team. And that's just one example of how we can use this. We mentioned some of the other add-ons. Log management is one of the ones we added recently. The point of this really was to provide a level of log management and log capability for the IT team to be used for diagnosis purposes. We want to make it clear we are not replacing Splunk. We're also certainly not charging what Splunk is charging or requiring the detailed level of training and study in order to use it. So within the WhatsUp Gold interface, we've added the ability to select log sources and to ingest syslogs and Windows logs, and to provide alerts. So any device that you want to will track those logs. We can include those logs. We can alert on specific log conditions or on log trends. There's suddenly a lot of logs on a device that only generated, fewer in the past. We can set up an alert on that. And it's very, very easy for users to either look at those logs, see those errors. Remember, I mentioned there'll be a little dot on the icon if something's wrong, the log error, this device card on the upper right. I'm not sure if anyone can see my mouse, but this device card here on the upper right, that's showing what's going on in your device. That's what happens when you click on any one of those icons. At a glance information, you can expand it as you want. So here it's showing, log information as well. This is, easily, again, pulled up in dashboards, and you can also search for a specific log. The main value here is we want our customers to be able to go into the logs if they need to diagnose a network fault. If they want to do some really deep log analysis, they may need a different tool like Splunk. But the goal here again was to provide more diagnostic capability to IT teams so they can find and fix problems fast.
With the log management, are you able to essentially then take that and export it to another tool? So I've seen a bunch of environments where the IT team wants their logs to work with, but then like security is going to want the logs as well. Can I bring it all into WhatsUp Gold and then have WhatsUp Gold send somewhere else?
Well, yes and no. So it depends on the use case. With log management, all of the data would be ingested into an Elasticsearch database provided by the customer. Now, multiple people can access WhatsUp Gold, though, and you could have varying levels of permission. So in theory, you can collect it all directly in WhatsUp Gold and give different permissions to your security team versus your help desk staff, so they can see specific information from specific systems. Now, I said yes because we do have the capability to forward along these things, but only with the base product. So the base product, WhatsUp Gold, can ingest syslogs and SNMP traps. However, it does it so in a very different way. It's not really meant for archival purposes. So our log management add-on is really for keeping many events and for archival purposes. Now, we don't currently have the ability to pass that data along anywhere else, but as long as you have access to that Elasticsearch database, you could, in theory, bring it to wherever you'd like.
Is there any impact to licensing based on the number of events you get via the logging?
No, so we just look at the log source itself. We don't care how many events are coming from each source.
Thanks.
Now, there may be an issue with size, but honestly, we provide a basic Elasticsearch database, and the customers can provide as much capacity for that as they wish. Or, and I'm going to jump right into the next page, with the log management archiving capability, they can choose to archive logs wherever they want, any source at all. And I don't need to go into this in a ton of detail. We added this capability because a lot of our customers had the requirement simply to archive logs as a compliance issue. And it was initially, it was all just going into an Elasticsearch database. We've added the ability to not only get all of that information and get all the value out of the log management add-on, but also to pick where you want to archive, what's that kind of storage system, and we don't care, just give us a link, and how often you want to archive, as well as the structure for going back in and searching archived logs or deleting and restoring archived logs as necessary.
It's not clear to me, is the Elasticsearch part of your product offering, or is it just represented here as a place where Progress can send and interact with the data?
It's technically a little bit of both. So for evaluation purposes, we do actually ask the customer if they want to install a local Elasticsearch database. However, we don't recommend that for production. For production, we recommend a full-on Elasticsearch instance provided by the customer. So kind of yes and no there yet again.
Okay, and is Elasticsearch kind of the only option, or could it be something other than Elasticsearch?
No, for log management specifically, we only use Elasticsearch, and the WhatsUp Gold itself actually uses Microsoft SQL Server. So we actually have two different databases we tie back to.
Another one of our add-ons or features included in Total Plus is the network traffic analysis add-on. And this allows us to track flow sources using NetFlow or other flow protocols. And the goal here is, again, from a diagnostic point, to allow IT people to easily pinpoint specific flow information like the top talkers, what are the top endpoints, what are the top protocols being used. This can all, again, be pulled up on dashboards, and they can drill down to see exactly the information that they're looking for. This is a great way to identify, or really to answer the question, where's all my bandwidth going? Which is, again, one of our customers' top questions. Who's using this? What applications are being used on my network? And who's watching Netflix in 4K at, noon?
Quick question to piggyback on Dan's question about forwarding. So can you forward the NetFlow that comes into WhatsUp Gold, fan it out to other NetFlow collectors?
No, we cannot. That's not a capability. Basically, you configure your device to send that data directly to the WhatsUp Gold IP address, and well, once we've received that data, it starts automatically reporting on it. So you don't have to do any special configuration within the product itself to start displaying this information. However, we have no forwarding capability when it comes to the traffic analysis module here.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So on a previous slide, you had mentioned something about cloud monitoring, and a lot of the cloud offer some form of flow monitoring feature set that's akin to, say, SFlow or IPFix. When you talk about cloud monitoring, does it apply here, or in what areas does the product apply to cloud monitoring?
So in terms of cloud monitoring with WhatsUp Gold, it's kind of limited to status of your endpoints as well as performance data. We don't tie into the specific flow data provided by the cloud environments. However, Flowmon does.
So Flowmon is a completely flow-based tool and is certainly going to cover cloud solutions. So we can be deployed hardware, virtual, or cloud. And we look at things specifically from the network perspective, right? So as opposed to infrastructure monitoring and device monitoring that you're going to get from WUG, we are looking specifically at generating enriched flow from network traffic, right? And so from the cloud perspective, we are able to natively consume Azure Flow Logs, AWS Flow Logs, Google Cloud Flow Logs, as well as we are able to, in Google Cloud and AWS, leverage their native functionality to do some network monitoring and packet visibility, and then generate flow from those packets.
Okay, and is there an integration between these two kind of modules so that as a user, I could see the end-to-end application flow as it goes from, on-prem device through the cloud back through an on-prem kind of traffic flow pattern?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are really kind of hitting the ground running with developing integrations around WhatsUp Gold and Flowmon to kind of give you the full purview, right? Your infrastructure, network application security monitoring, as well as because we can deploy Flowmon and WhatsUp Gold both in cloud, on-prem, we are supporting hybrid environments to provide that full visibility, whether the transactions or the network traffic is occurring on the network, in the hybrid application environments, and so on and so forth.
I'm going to mention one other item about the network traffic analysis add-on. One of the things we've adapted it for, another feature that it includes, is the ability to monitor suspicious traffic. So either based on an online list of suspicious IP addresses, or one that you manually input, or any Tor access point, any dark web access point, we can identify that traffic and provide a report on that. Again, the value here is not only figuring out whether or not any of your users are accessing areas they shouldn't, but you can also immediately stop them. So you can either track it or just prevent access to that by using the NetFlow capability.
Can you modify that yourself? So can you say, like, if you see traffic going from one segment to another, like classify that as suspicious traffic?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, when you can provide your own list in multiple different formats. So it could either be just a text file, or it can be even a web URL that we periodically go and scrape to see, well, is there anything else in the list? So any IP address shown in that list, and if your system's talking to that IP address, it would show up in this report here.
Yep.
So since you mentioned web URLs, there's published lists of known bad IPs. Is that something, are you able, if I provided that, are you able to go out to those sites and parse all of that information then?
Yes, exactly correct.
I mentioned configuration management earlier, and this is an interesting little feature in that it allows you to monitor the configurations of all of your devices. This is an unusual licensing one in that it's either on or off in Total Flow, in Total Plus, but it is licensed separately if you want this capability. The real advantage is it will alert you if anything changes in your configuration. It will also allow you to archive and restore from previous configurations. And this answers the two main problems that IT guys run into when it comes to configurations. A, am I compliant? And B, what changed and what was my old configuration? So you can, for example, say, all right, all routers, we don't want any, no traffic on port 8088. And that might be a company-wide or even a government requirement. So you can apply that all the way across and have configuration management monitoring to make sure that doesn't change. If you have a patch or an update or something gets changed, you get an alert immediately. If you're very daring, you can have it automatically revert. That sometimes is something people want to do if they think someone's coming in and gaining access and then modifying the configuration so they can gain access again more easily. Or you can use this audit screen, as I'm showing here, where you can scroll through the entire however many thousands of lines configuration, but it will highlight the differences, which makes it really, really easy to figure out, okay, what did I have before? What do I have now? And with a click of a button, you can push it out to both that one, or you can do it by role. So again, we talked about, a certain set of roles for servers. I can push that same configuration out to multiples. You'll see this again with Mark Singh when he shows it off, but this is a look at that main map, interactive map with the virtual interface, or the virtual overlay turned on. And as you can see, we've added a bunch of icons here, and the blue lines, that's showing you your virtual guests and hosts. So again, something's wrong, it's easy to do one click on the screen, see where they all are, see what the hosts are, see what the guests are, and see that topology, and again, see if there's any issues.
So you said that this is just linking the VMs to the hosts that they're on?
Well, in addition, if you look at the screenshot closely, it actually goes vCenter server to data center to cluster. So it actually builds out the full relationship from the VMware perspective. This also ties into Hyper-V, but there it's just going to be, the host to guest.
And then does this also then have like data store, network, things like that? Or are we just looking where the VM is kind of in the physical or the virtual, but where that sits?
So in terms of the data stores, those would be monitored things on the actual hosts themselves. So on the hosts, we're able to go look at the disk utilization, for example, and that ties back to your data stores in VMware. So we wouldn't show the data stores as individual nodes on the map, so to speak. I think that's what you're asking.
Application performance monitoring. And this is where we are able to monitor a specific application on the network and show the entire stack. Again, this is one of those items where something's wrong with the application. It's not necessarily the device itself will show red, but you'll get a little dot on that icon that shows that, hey, there's something that you need to look at here. There's a whole ton of out-of-the-box profiles. They're very easy to create your own, and it will work for Linux, MySQL, or Oracle items. A lot of our users will use this to determine what the application performance level is, whether it's slow, whether it's lagging, whether it's stopped working, that kind of level. Security came up earlier, and this is not one of our necessarily key core features, but we did want to highlight the fact that a couple releases ago, we did integrate with OpenID Connect, so you can use OpenID Connect for authorization, and this is just another way to help keep our customers help our customers keep their WhatsUp Gold implementations secure. So we can use a variety of different methods through OpenID to provide things like MFA. In order to help our customers ensure that the only people messing with WhatsUp Gold are people who are given permission to mess with WhatsUp Gold. We have a whole series of REST APIs that allow you to use both inbound and outbound REST API calls. And I'll be perfectly frank, this gets out of my area of expertise very, very quickly. But it has two main functions. One, you can write a script and make WhatsUp Gold do whatever you want. So a perfect example we ran across is a customer who has 60 Windows servers and he needs to patch them all. And if he's going to go ahead and patch them, every time he takes one down, WhatsUp Gold is going to scream that the server is down. So he can write a little script that would say, all right, tell WhatsUp Gold to put that server into maintenance mode, then apply the patch, then restart the server, then tell WhatsUp Gold to take it out of maintenance mode, run. And instead of spending an afternoon doing that, he can spend 10 minutes scripting it and bang, it's all taken care of. That's one example. Another example would be something more sophisticated. For example, we've used the outbound REST APIs to integrate with PassOE, which is one of Progress's open edge capabilities that's allowed for integration. And we mentioned earlier, this is the same set of function we'd have used to develop that integration with the ServiceNow and anything else. I stopped talking about this one early on simply because you can do almost anything with it. And it really becomes a question of what would you like to do?
And just to expand on that a bit, you see it says outbound REST API support. So that means you can actually query any REST API and expect certain data or not expect certain data. So you can label things up or down based on the response. You could also track performance over time. Maybe you're querying a REST API for a certain value. Well, you're able to chart that in WhatsUp Gold. So we recently add that, so there's not much directly out of the box when it comes to REST API being monitored. But once again, you can create as many monitors as you'd like and associate as many monitors to each system as need be.
We did purchase, Progress did purchase Kemp not too long ago, and one of the first things we did was integrate with Flowmon because there is a significant overlap with Flowmon and WhatsUp Gold capabilities. We've covered our network traffic analysis solution. Flowmon has a vastly more full-featured and capable flow monitoring functionality, as well as some security capabilities that WhatsUp Gold simply doesn't have. What we did is we were able to take all of that information from Flowmon and display it within WhatsUp Gold in its own separate dashboard. So the value here is if you are using both Flowmon and WhatsUp Gold, you can integrate them and you can see everything from within the WhatsUp Gold interface. And the goal here is, again, is kind of the same basic concept. Everything in one place, one easy place to diagnose things. You're not hopping from area to area. You don't have to worry about finger pointing. You don't have to worry about multiple applications telling you something different. It is one version of the truth. And you're flipping from dashboard to dashboard instead of opening up a whole separate application. And we have a really nifty architecture diagram that explains that. It's pretty straightforward. Flowmon's a separate product on the right. WhatsUp Gold's the green box on the left. Together, they monitor absolutely everything in the network. There's the overlap where they're both monitoring firewalls, routers, switches, and cloud. But Flowmon provides additional insight into things like malware, ransomware, anomaly detection, and insider threats. WhatsUp Gold sometimes gets conflated with security products because we do monitor the network and we can notice things like changes. You can set an alert if, for example, that security camera is using 3 times the bandwidth it normally does, which might indicate it's been hacked. We can let you know if someone accessed a router or an endpoint and changed the configuration. We're not a SIEM. And we're not trying to be one. This is the first time we've been able to provide this kind of security capability and the network in detection and response functionality to our customers. And this is very, very recent. We only introduced this, I want to say, in February, really, at tail end of February with our latest release.